All right, Hebsy man, I am recording in 5, 4, 3.
Hey, this is Mark Hebscher. You can call me Hebsy. I'm so thrilled to be in the basement with Toronto Mike. It's been so long. We used to scrap a lot, but it's been so long. So let's get into it right now.
What up, Mike?
That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
VK on the beat. Check.
No, you know what? I'm calling an audible here. No way. Here's what we're going to do here. This is how we're going to roll. Welcome to episode 1801. That's 1801 of Toronto Mic'd. Proudly brought to you by retrofestive.ca, Canada's pop culture and Christmas store. Great Lakes Brewery. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Blue Sky Agency. Ask Doug Mills about how Cylon delivers the space to focus, collaborate, and recharge. Nick Aines, he's the host of Building Toronto Skyline and Building Success. 2 podcasts you ought to listen to. Kindling. Hebsy, have you heard about this? Go to shopkindling.ca for free 1-hour cannabis delivery. Recyclemyelectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. And of course, Ridley Funeral Home. Pillars of the community since 1921. Today, returning to Toronto Mic'd, it's the author of Madness, The Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. It's my buddy Mark Hebscher. How you doing, Hebsy man?
I can't hear you through my headphones, Mike, but I'm doing fine, buddy.
Is that right? You can't hear me?
No.
That means you're not okay.
Can't hear myself either.
Okay, give me a second. We have did you see the end of that thing?
You're so excited.
You know why? I recorded live from Casa Loma yesterday,
Yes,
so all
you
this
did.
got torn down for episode 1800 at Casa Loma.
That's okay.
And I didn't plug your headphones back in. Where is this guy here? All right, where are you?
There, you know what? You got a short there. Yeah, I just heard it. There it is.
Are you in?
I'm in.
Okay, my apologies.
I don't need the headphones, you know.
You know what?
I'm a pro. I don't
You
need
won't hear Do the
headphones.
Murray by Los Lobos. Remind the listenership, why am I playing Do the Murray by Los Lobos?
Mike, I swear to you, I just finished writing a book. In all that time, I'd completely forgotten about that song, how we acquired it, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
Just because that's like. Hang on, wait. I gotta. It's hot in here.
No,
It's hot.
Usually
It's
people
hot
complain.
in here.
Mike Stafford was here last week complaining he was cold, like it was a walk-in fridge. So I'm glad you're hot down here.
Come on, man. Whew. So that was. I mean, that's the music from Sportsline 2.0 and Hebsy on Sports.
That's the opening theme and closing theme, for Hebsy on Sports, which we recorded together for 5 years.
Yeah.
And I wanted to resurrect it for this, for your return. I know you were here like in early 2024, but you used to be here like every week. Yeah, early. You came by
here
early,
in the studio.
in the studio.
So that's the last time I was here.
Yeah, so
Place has
you've
changed.
been here since, Hebsy on Sports passed away. Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. But I got to say, man, you told me you were going to write a book about the, sports media in this country and beyond, and you did it, Hebsy.
Well, you inspired it too, because when we were on, and I forget how, like we did what, 300 whatever it was.
More than that, yeah.
Yeah, more. I don't know. I don't remember.
330, maybe?
I think what happened was we lost count. We tried to identify them by number, and we got it all screwed up somewhere along.
Well, I can tell you.
Because you had numbers. No, because you were at the time you were at 1,300 or whatever.
But you numbered. Remember, you shared you shared a Google Doc with me every episode, and you numbered the Google Doc. So I think it was like 332.
I think
or something
okay.
like that.
I believe you. Anyway, so yeah, it's been quite a while, and we used to go at it. The sports stories of the day, the issues, and all that stuff that we were talking about. I thought, this would be great in a book. And I think when the sports gambling started, we really started getting into issues, beyond sports, social issues with regards to gambling, especially. Is that game fixed? Is that, and the Tim Donaghy story, remember the NBA referee?
Of course.
And so all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but it was sort of like, wait a minute, this is getting kind of pervasive. Like there were a lot of commercials on TV, bet. And I think that was sort of the beginning of the decline, and that's where the ruin, to me, part came in. The rise was there. I don't know when it plateaued, but the ruin began when sports got into bed with gambling companies. Okay, and so now people were compromised, and people that you watched on television or listened to on the radio, or you're going, is that kind of being paid off by the gambling company to say these things?
No, without a doubt. But I'm going to ask you a quick question because I've read your book. So firstly, congrats on
writing it. You were one of the first,
Okay.
Like you read it before it was out.
Well, I did notice one mistake.
Oh, only one?
Well, you talked about the music you would play on Sportsline because you had these 12-inch singles and you had some cool stuff, New Order and stuff.
What did I forget?
No, you added a band that you definitely did not play on Sportsnet when it was on Global because you threw in the mix there Audio Slave.
Of course we did.
But Audio Slave doesn't exist until, because it's when Soundgarden broke up. Audio Slave does not exist when you're on Global Sportsline.
What year did Audio Slave begin?
I'll Google it quickly, but this was like so because Soundgarden has their run.
I know exactly it because we used Audio Slave for bumpers on the new Sportsline with me
the
and
new
Bubba O'Neill.
Yes.
And I got the two mixed up.
Right. So I'm here to tell you that. But
and you know what? You're 100% right because now, as I'm writing it, I'm thinking, because you're thinking, okay, if I got these dates right, because if I don't, I know there's at least one person out there that's going to challenge me because I'm the same person. If I read something, anything that's factually incorrect, I'm like, wait a minute, I think I got to get in touch with Toronto Mike. And you and I have gone back and forth on things, right? Like you've published stuff and I've gone, but always privately. It's like, Mike, you might want to change.
All right, I just did that very publicly right now. Yeah.
No, it's okay.
I just realized.
By the way, what page was that on? We want to get that fixed.
But that's like this whole book. That's the only thing I said. Oh, Hebsy slipped up there because he means the later. Right. He means the Bubba O'Neill sports line, not the Jim Taddy sports line.
That's right.
And I mean, okay, so a lot of ground, but and again, so I've congratulated you on the book because I could blow smoke up your ass right now, Hebsy, because you're a good friend. You're a true buddy. I could tell you that, you wrote a good book, even though I'm like, I don't want to recommend this to my buds. Yeah. It's not very good. Straight up, it's a 2-for-1, right? It's a great history of sports media, like the rise and fall. And you do a great job kind of...
Rise and ruin.
Right?
Believe me, rise and fall, it came a million. I'm like, it's a rise and fall of everything. Every book's been written is a rise and fall of something. Sorry.
Rise and ruin. But it's also a tremendous, and I had all these parts, but they're all scattered. You put them in this great coherent, linear, organized thought process. But this is also a tremendous Mark Hebscher autobiography.
It's not, though.
But it's not.
No, there's room for the autobiography, right? Someone says, "We're going to write another book." I'm like, did I save enough for an autobiography? Is there stuff about my childhood and stuff like that? There's little parts of it, right, that are in there, but it's not an autobiography. It's more a history of sports media with my experiences later in life.
Okay, but let me ask you about your Zeta.
Damn, I screwed it up, didn't I?
Zeta.
Yeah.
Your Zeta was a bookie.
Yeah.
And first for the Gentiles, the ones who are less ignorant.
Grandfather.
I know this, Hebsy. Right? You know this. I'm a friend of the Jewish people.
It doesn't. But I mean, how many ways can you say grandfather in the world?
Well,
Abba.
I have two kids who have they have a Lolo.
Oh, Lolo.
Lola was a Filipino grandfather.
No kidding.
Yeah, so they got a Lola and a Lolo in Edmonton.
Hello.
Abuela.
Hello.
You know what? It's going to be tough to talk to you because I want to talk to you about so many things all at once.
It's not going to be tough. Go ahead.
I want to hear about Zeta I want to hear about Zeta, your Zeta being a bookie because you talked about sports gambling. But can you quickly tell the story of how you got the rights to do the Murray from Los Lobos for Hebsy on Sports, which we did for 5 years, Hebsy?
Oh, yeah. So the guys in Los Lobos, well, one of the guys, Steve Berlin, tremendous producer, also produced a couple of Tragically Hip albums and, Crash Test Dummies, go on and on. But anyway, Steve and I are friends and have been for many years, introduced by Jake Gold, the manager of the Hip. Sure. And Steve is, a member of Los Lobos. He's not a charter member, because the guys were around like for a few years before him, but he's the only non-Chicano, he's not Mexican-American, member of the band. And I had asked him, I sort of like, I love that. I'm looking for an instrumental piece. Would I be able to use this? And he was like, yeah, I'll talk to the guys. It was real simple, right? You didn't have to worry about the publishing company and all that. They basically sort of said, sure, we'd love to, because they don't play this in their concerts. And it was sort of a one-off kind of a thing. I don't do the Murray. And then I thought it was fantastic. And you agreed, and we used it.
It is great.
For quite a long time. So I just basically asked, and he said, sure, go ahead. And no one has even questioned me. No one, hey, did you pay for that? Or, are you using that for free? Because especially nowadays, when people are getting 0.00001 cent for every Spotify play. So that, yeah.
But nowadays, it's not even nobody questioned me. Now it's the algorithm bot that detects that you use this song owned by this record label that sends you some kind of a takedown order. Like, it's no longer a human, right? It's like an algorithm.
I know, I have trouble understanding that. That's hard for me. And what do the algorithms like to listen to? Like, what do they prefer? Do they prefer something? And, there's a whole thing about AI generated stuff. Remember the book, it all had to be in by like many, many months ago. It was all gone to the, publisher and all that. It's finished. You couldn't add anything more to it.
Right.
And in the interim period, I was worried that stuff was going to happen that was going to make what I wrote completely obsolete.
Right.
Like, oh no, what's Hebscher talking about? That's like, so it was really hard for me to try to stay as current as possible and thinking when the book came out in November, what would the sports world be like?
Right.
I think I hit it dead on, Mike. I think I hit it dead on because and it started with my grandfather. Look, people love to gamble. I just got back from Las Vegas. People love to gamble, and I like to see people gamble, and they're enjoying themselves. Of course, you can only do that when you're winning, but even people that are winning don't seem to be enjoying themselves. They're thinking of the next bet, or they're worried about the guy missing a field goal. Man, you should see, I'm an observer of human condition when it comes to, I watched everybody watching a football game in Vegas. I'm just scanning the crowd.
Right.
And I'm telling you, no one looked like they were really having a good time. It was anxiety. It was like following the Jays in the World Series. No one seemed to be enjoying it. It was like, I'm so worried.
Well, we're going to get to that. We got a lot of ground to cover, but your Zeta was a bookie.
He was. But he didn't tell me this for years. And then when I was in my 50s at the time. He was like in his, I was in my 40s. He was in his 80s. Yeah. And, he basically said, I used to make book all the time. Listen, when you grew up when you were from Toronto or this, you couldn't, and you were Jewish, you couldn't get a job in the bank or working for the government or a cop or anything. You couldn't get any of those jobs. They didn't hire Jews, and if they did, it was maybe one, a token. And getting into U of T, all this is history of Toronto. I don't want to get into that part, but so you had to kind of hustle and you had to do your own thing. So he owned a store, or he rented out his space on Danforth Avenue and Dawes Road, and he owned a store, a variety, a corner store, what they called it. And so people would go in every day, before work, after work, whatever, cigarettes, milk, the daily newspaper or newspapers. And while you're there, maybe to lay a bet. And you couldn't bet legally except when you went to the racetrack. Or I think bingo. That was pretty much it.
Right.
That's it. There was no other. You couldn't, even if you were playing in a poker game in someone's house and you were throwing money around, the cops could have busted in on you. So bookmaking was a big thing. People wanted to bet. They needed someone to bet with. Here's your local bookie, the corner store. That was my grandfather. He didn't tell us that, but I remember when I was a kid, he would show us, he would have a wad of bills, Mike, like to choke a horse, a big thick wad of bills. Yeah. You're 8 years old. You're going, what are you making, book? Are you making books, Zeta? No, you don't ask that. You go, where'd you get all that money? And my parents are like, oh, that's the receipts from the store, it's all cash business and all that. And I'm thinking, and you'd have to sell a lot to get that kind of money. So I realized later when he told me that all those dollar bills and what a deuce $2 bills I saw, those were bets. Bets. This guy, Vito comes in every morning or whatever.
It's always Vito.
When I see him on Monday or I see him on Tuesday, we settle up. So, and then he just told me stories of just the way things were when he was younger, and it's no different than today. People love to bet. They want to find action. That's just the way they are. It doesn't matter if it's penny poker or whatever, or you're playing with your friend, or it's for a 3-foot putt, or it's every single pitch of every single baseball game. People have got to have action, and you got to go somewhere to make a bet. And in those days, there was no pro line, there was no betting apps. You went to the corner store, you went to the bookmaker.
Are you betting on sports these days, Hebsy?
No, not at all. I was just in Vegas. I did not make a bet, which is, people might think, are you out of here? How could you not even like a spin of the wheel? Or no, it doesn't appeal to me at all because of what I've witnessed, because of what's gone on in my family and others that I know. And because of just some really wonderful people that I've known that, because of gambling, ruined their lives and the lives of their families and friends.
I've seen it too. It's that's a highly addictive practice. It is like somebody trying to, get off the cigs, right? No,
it's worse than that.
Worse
it's because it's all around. Without the cigs, there's no smoking signs everywhere to deter you.
Right.
There's nothing that says there's no gambling. And let's face it, the leagues and the teams and the players and the media are all in some way, shape, or form involved. They're partners with these gambling companies. They're all, here's another $100 in your account. Go make a bet.
Right.
And Mike, you can bet on anything. I mean, I scanned the boards in Las Vegas, and my head was about to explode. I'm watching a college game, and there's hundreds of people. So this is Caesar's Palace. Hundreds of people watching, clutching their ticket, and they're like just nuts. And while they're watching this game that they've got to bet on, they're making bets with themselves. Their buddy on, like, it's going to be a pass, it's going to be a run. Bet you five, bet you five. Like, it's nuts, man.
Yeah, you cannot lose if you do not play.
Right.
You can write that down. You can put that in the next book. Okay, I did steal it.
It's going to be the title of the book,
Wire.
actually. Cannot lose if you don't play.
I bet you can make a bet in 2026. Does a ball get wedged between the fence and the ground at the Dome?
Yeah. Someone will take your action. There's someone out there would present odds. Remember, it's all about the odds. If it's worth it to the bookmaker,
right,
and they set the odds, if it's worth it to them, they're the ones that calculate that. The bettor doesn't do that. You don't sit there and go, wait a minute, you're only going to pay me this much? Oh, no, I'm going to go somewhere else and get a better odds. No. So when these, like, I'll give you an example. A friend of mine's son hit a 4-team parlay. He bet 4 teams, 4 different bets, whatever they were.
Right.
Whatever they were. And it came in. It was a $10 bet. Now, something like that should be paying, you should be getting, seriously, you should be at least $100. You got to be getting 10 to 1. You get 4?
Yeah.
Not 1, 4 of them.
You'd think so.
So I don't know, but they gave him like $37.
Jeez.
I said, wait a minute, you bet $10, you got like $37 back? That was it for getting 4-teamer? You got ripped off.
Yeah.
So even when they lose the bets, even when the house loses, they win because the amount they're taking from you is absurd. And there's no negotiating. But anyway, that's a whole other thing.
Well, I'll get back to this because I got a couple of nice notes when I said it's the return of Hebsy. And one man John Wing.
Yeah.
He writes me and says, I challenge Hebsy to a golf match.
Winger, look, I was just in Nevada for 4 days. Why didn't you come over and see me?
Funny man.
I think he's in California. He's in California.
He's in California. But last time I talked to him, he was considering coming back to Canada.
Yeah.
Because he's not doing those cruise lines anymore because I think he's got a vision issue.
Yeah. The other thing is, too, it's just things have really really tightened up in that business, in the entertainment business. We had so many choices in Las Vegas, like tons. And, people were saying to me, you can get great tickets for this, and it's half full. And it used to be super busy, and it's not super busy now.
But is that because a bunch of Canadians are staying home?
No, there's more to it than that. Number one, for sure, there is Canadians, but I just think it's down all over. It's ridiculously expensive, Mike.
Yeah, when did that happen?
Ridiculously expensive. Never mind the exchange. Forget the $1.45 it cost me for every American dollar. But yeah, like $8 for a bottle of water. You got some nerve. You got some nerve, Las Vegas.
It's true. It's all over the place.
And the price surging with the cabs and oh my God. So it's pouring rain on Saturday there. Okay. It's raining all day, right? Vegas is not the kind of a place you want to be walking around. You want to be inside in the casinos where there's no windows, there's no clocks. You don't care what time of day it is. But if you're a tourist and you're walking around, it was horrible. So anyway, all of a sudden, the cab that was going to cost us $15 is now $160.
Really? That's real numbers.
$160 because so many people are waiting, trying to get a cab. Because even if you want to go from, let's say, from Caesar's Palace to the Bellagio, which is next door, it's a 15-minute walk. You are not going to walk in the pouring rain wearing your Hermes and
160
your Molo Black or whatever, right? Right? You're not going to. So it's like the cabs know this. They know this. It's like, you want to go 6 blocks? It's going to cost you whatever.
Did you watch the Grey Cup? Because I read your piece in Substack. And you close it with somebody recognized you
Yeah.
and they thought you would have been at the Grey Cup in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
But did you...
Because I had an offer to go to the Grey Cup. That was one of the 2 offers I had for my vacation.
And you went to Vegas.
It was like, do you want to go?
It's not very Canadian of you, Hebsy.
No. Anyway, that's in the Substack article. That's completely different.
But did you
didn't
watch
tell me
it?
you were going to talk about the article that
Well,
I
I read your stuff.
but yeah, no,
you
the
can
guy
promote
kind
that
of looked at me.
Substack.
He figured, you're a sport. I remember you're a sports guy. You used to do all the CFF. How come you're not in Winnipeg at the Grey Cup? That was sort of the last line of it. And it was like, I went to Vegas instead. And I didn't. In fact, you know what? By the time I got home, I think there was 11 seconds left in the game, and I had flipped on the very ending. And I hear it wasn't a great game, and there wasn't any buzz about it where I was.
No, well, I don't think. Yeah, maybe not in Vegas, but
No, certainly not in Mike. Of all the football, there was not once did I see
Nobody was
Grey
tired.
Cup odds. No.
I do enjoy the fact that at least the game was undecided until the very end. Like Montreal had a chance. To
Don't spoil it for me. I haven't
won't
watched.
spoil it. It's on your PVR.
Okay.
So you're in TiVo. Okay.
I'm sorry. The Canadian Football League. The only thing I wrote about it in the book was when I was doing Argo play-by-play, and the Grey Cup parade.
Of course,
with Jim Hunt.
Of course,
was a good one, which preceded the parade that you and I.
Well, that's why I call it an autobiography. Like, maybe not your childhood, this, that. Although you did.
No,
talk
there
about your
are
Zeta
some
and stuff.
autobiographical elements to the book, but it's not an autobiography because autobiography is a memoir, isn't it?
Sure, but,
Would that be the same
but
thing?
your sports media career, every stop you made, and I got some questions about a few of them, but every stop you make is covered in great detail in chronological order. Like, what more would you ask for?
Oh no, it's not. No, it's not a chronological. No,
Okay,
there's
maybe
references. It's not a chronological.
But because these are stories I
Yes.
heard. You open with Wayne Swetsky, which I'm going to get to in a moment
Yeah,
here. But I got to get to this question from Viraj Dave. Viraj Dave wants to know. He was a big fan of Hebsy on Sports. He says, "Is he going to restart Hebsy on Sports with Toronto Mike?" That's a question for you to answer, Hebsy.
Look, you know me. I'm willing to. I'm willing to talk sports with anyone. I mean, I buttonholed this guy on the plane for 4.5 hours, okay? And I started to tell him about Actually, here's another thing. I sold 2 books when I was on the plane. The couple that was sitting next to me was, what do you do? I was a sportscaster. I'm an author. You're an author, right? Oh, really? And now that I've written 2 books, I can say it with confidence. Before it was like, I wrote a book.
Right, you have 2.
Anyway, by the time the flight was over, they were like, how do we get this book? And I just sent them the Amazon link, and I thought, what an idiot. Carry more books with you, and you'll sign them right there. What a dum-dum, right? Because every book that I sell, that I buy myself, I make $15 a book, Mike. $15 a book. But if it's sold through Amazon or, Barnes & Noble or Indigo or whatever, it's like $4.
It's a big difference.
$4.80.
And how do you feel about those cheapskates who get it from the library? Like, no, you're an independent. You buy a book from Hebsy, and
yeah. But you know what though? I do get a check every year from the books that are sold to the library. I mean, it's not substantial, but I mean, every library, I think, it's like they don't have to, but I think it's like, well, he's a Canadian author, and you could put it in.
Oh, you're definitely. I've heard from people who have got it from there. But I want to use this opportunity just to tell the listenership that you, Mark Hebscher, will be at TMLX 21 on November 29th. That's the last Saturday of November.
Right.
And noon to 3 p.m. is TMLX 21. Everyone's invited. You'll be there, and you will bring books to this event, right?
Yeah, I'm going to bring lots of books, and we're going to like with the books is great because. I'll sign it for you, but if we've met before or we spend time together, I can come up usually with something pretty good you sign a book. It's not like, best
Customize
wishes,
it.
Hope you like the book. Sometimes I like to personalize
Or if you're
it.
Jerry Howarth, God bless you.
Yes.
That's in my book.
Yeah, it's nice. And then the obligatory, can we take a picture? I've never heard, I've never gone, no picture. No, I'll sign this for, but no picture.
Right.
Sometimes you'll get those idiots who are like, please, just, I'll sing, I'll only, and they never look up from sign. They just sign, and they just, people, not me, man. It's like for sure, because you want to have, there is no ticket, right? There's no physical ticket for this. So you've got to have proof that you were there. So here's the book that's signed. Here's the picture that we took, right? And now that's your experience there. And then when someone asks you, you go, oh, let me show you something. Here's the picture. Oh, let me show you the book. Look at the inscription.
So Hebsy heads come for the live recording because Hebsy's going to be on the mic as well. But come meet Hebsy, get him to sign a book for you. He'll take a selfie with you, and that'll be totally rad. And I told you just before we press record, at TMLX21, I'm expecting the legend that is Mike Richards.
Yeah.
And you're doing his show tomorrow?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. And the funny thing is, I lobbied him because, when your book comes out, depending on who your publisher is, and mine is ECW Press, and they're wonderful people. But I'm like, okay, if we got big book launches, are we going, road tripping? Are we doing, readings and stuff like that, and chapters, Indigo, And they're like, no, we've got, you got some help here, but you're pretty much on your own.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So, I go to the publisher and I say, well, I want to buy my book. And in our case, I can buy my own book for 50% off the cover price, if I buy a certain number of books. And so I'm like, okay, I guess it's called selling it out of the trunk of your car, for lack of a better term, right?
Sure.
It's like you go. And so it's like, I took a couple books to like my barber, right? Sam, who loves me, and he says, I got 2 or 3 clients that are fans of yours. I said, great, here's a copy of the book, put it on display, and then you tell them, I'll sign it for them, and then next time. So I've kind of got that kind of community thing going, and I always have them. And
Grassroots.
I'm on the plane, I'm selling them to the people sitting next to me on the plane, okay? I'm waiting for a cab, the guy across from me, I'm saying to him, here's the link, bing, go and order it. Another $4.80 in my pocket as soon as that guy buys it, boom. So that US in that case, I think. Woo. So, yeah, it's fun, but the thing is, what I miss the most is I like talking sports. You know that, Mike. So whenever there's an issue, or what about the Leafs? Are they going to fire Berube? I can't help but not get sucked into that.
Well, some questions on that in that regard are on your way, but I am naturally, as you know, I like to know how the sausage is made, how the cake is baked. Like if you've got a book you got to promote. This is 2025. Here we are, November 18. Obviously, you're going to come. You're on Toronto Mike right now. Yeah. Fun fact.
But you would have said, I mean, even if I didn't have a book, we would have had something to talk about.
I like
today.
at least a yearly Hebsy check-in. So you're right.
I hope so.
Book, you're not here for the book. You happen to have the book, and I'm going to ask you about the book because I like the book. I think it's a very good book, and I think my audience would love this book by Mark Hebscher. But
I think so. The book is written for our audiences. Yeah.
The people who are interested in the deeper dives into the mechanics of it all. The Brian Gersteins of the world, who tells me he will be at TMLX 21 to buy a copy.
Can I ask you a question?
Anything.
Because you've got your finger on the pulse of it. Well, your listeners are not just from the GTA, GTHA. Do you think I was too specific geographically when I was explaining the media sources that were influenced me, and that,
like when you talk about CJCL, or
even more than that, the Buffalo
Chum,
stuff. Like people that didn't grow up in this area, would they be going, "What's this guy talking about? I'm not from Toronto. Why do I give a crap about what he's writing here?"
I think a lot of people, because if I read a book from somebody and it's like Ottawa. And it's like, I don't speak this language. I'm actually very interested to hear them talk about Ottawa. Like I learned something. I kind of like, it's like going on vacation, right? You immerse yourself in a different culture. I did read your book as a Toronto guy, born and raised, and I knew most of the references and I liked the inside of it all, but I think I would have liked it just as much if you were like a Vancouver guy. I think I would have enjoyed immersing myself in this different culture.
Because my worry is this, Mike, is that a lot of people hate Toronto and anyone associated with Toronto. And if you grew up in Toronto, F you, right? I don't care if it's people from the West Coast or whatever, but you know what I mean. Toronto haters.
Right.
They may just hate the Leafs, and then so if you happen to be from Toronto, they hate you too. But then again, my worry was this, is that someone was going to go, F this guy, he's a Toronto guy, I'm not interested, and would dismiss the book out of hand without even,
Well, that same person is definitely not listening to a show called Toronto Mike.
I never thought through that. All right.
You hate Toronto. I don't think you're listening. Maybe you hate listening. Okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you to Dale Cadeau, who...
Thanks, Dale.
Because Dale, who loves you, you know that.
He's a good man.
Loves Hebsy. Listen to all the Hebsy on sports.
He's moved back here, has he?
Is he back here?
I don't know.
So.
I
think you're confusing him with Gene Velitis.
No, certainly not.
Well, Dale Cadeau reached out to Mike Richards to ensure Mike Richards was going to be at TMLX 21. I'm excited that you'll be on Mike Richards' show. I did a fun little, I called it a Mike-umentary, but basically, because I think you might know this, but Mike Richards has come on Toronto Mike several times to make a big announcement. So I had fun with the fact that every time he'd come over, it was a major big announcement, and most of the times it didn't happen. And as you know, much like you, like I root so hard for this guy because I just like this guy, Mike Richards, and I'm glad that you're on a show tomorrow. But here's my question for you, Hebsy. This is where I want you to dive into. How do you promote a book like this in 2025? And I need specifics because the Bell properties, which are many, and the Rogers properties, they're not going to touch a book like this because you basically say that sports media has been ruined.
That's correct. I do not expect to, and because I have friends in the industry, and they've told me, and it's very discreet too, and Mike, you can understand this, and so can the listeners. And I can't mention the names of these people, but take a guess, all right? At Sportsnet, does Hebsy know anybody there? You know, and so they've told me, you know, quietly, great book, I can't, you know,
can't touch it.
You know that I can't, and I understand completely the position that they're in, because in the book I talk about my friends, without naming names, and some names, a lot of names are mentioned, that they're worried about their jobs. They see what's going on in the industry, and they don't want to rock the boat. They got a family to raise. They got, you know, all that stuff. So I totally dig it, and I would never put them on the spot. But you got to admit, when you watch today's sportscasters, there's a lot more, you know, brought to you by, and don't forget, and, you know, it's sponsor driven. And, you know, back in the day, that was kind of cringeworthy. How can you be an objective observer? How can you be an unbiased, reporter?
Right.
When you're being pulled towards gambling.
You're beholden to all these conglomerates.
In other words, the story isn't, we don't care about the background of Toronto Mike. We want to know what his betting habits are.
Right.
Right? We want to find a way to change the narrative and spin it so that it's about the bet. Right? It's got to be about bet. It's all got to be eventually getting these people to bet on the game, not getting these people to read a 2,000-word profile of the backup quarterback whose father had Alzheimer's and whatever.
Right.
Those stories are very difficult to pass by an editor now, because the editor's like, no, where's the betting stuff? Where's the, you know, remember, our partner is a gambling company. And you got to go, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Well, and the other problem, again, I called out Bell and Rogers because they own national sports networks in this country, as you know. But Rogers, if I can focus on them for a moment, they own practically everything, right? Like every sports team a Torontonian loves, well, most of them. I mean, that's a problem. Like Rogers owns everything.
You bet there's a problem, of course.
There's your ruin. Bet.
There's your ruin, Mike. There is your ruin. I mean, how many, I can name on one hand the number of people that are willing to, and because they have no affiliation with the sports teams or the conglomerates that own them, that are willing to go out on a limb. And most of them are from Post Media, you know, Toronto Sun, National Post guys, you know what I'm talking about, Simmons, guys like that, who can, without fear of reprisal,
right,
can say these things, can go on about can ask these questions in a press conference setting. The press conference setting now is this. First of all, you never, ever used to listen to an entire press conference. You would get the juicy bits, not the stuff in, over there, second row. None of that stuff, right? It's unprofessional sounding. And the other thing is that when you're asking a question in a press conference, you're not doing it for broadcast. You're not going, I'm going to be on the air with this question. So a lot of times, the question in a press conference is sometimes disjointed, but trying to get a particular type of an answer that if you were sitting next to the person one-on-one, this wouldn't be required. But since it's a, hands up, please, if you want to ask a question, it's supposed to be formal. You were never, as a viewer and listener, you were never supposed to hear the whole press conference. But now it's cheap programming. Just plug it in, flip it on. And after a while, you're going, okay, like another stupid question, right? It's just boring, but it fills time on the sports networks because besides the live game, what else are you watching it for? What are you watching Sportsnet for? You watching it for plays of the week, missed plays of the week, bloopers of the month, curling, another replay of the same show that aired the night before? So they have to have programming in there. And the last thing they want is somebody going, writing about this, how, it's not really the way business should be done in the sports world. So where
can, being specific, you've got a few things on the go promotional wise. You got this, you got Mike Richards. I know you're doing more than that, but like, where can you turn? Like, is there an athletic podcast that will talk to you? Will Wilner talk to you for a Toronto Star podcast? Like, if you cut out Rogers and Bell, what's left for Hebsy Man to talk sports and promote his book?
Right. So it's word of mouth. It's going to events like, TMLX 21.
Woo! Which I have to get back to.
XXI, right? XXI.
Okay.
Right. I haven't been since TML IX, I think.
You were at Great Lakes Brewery last time you came.
So what number was that?
8, maybe.
I thought it was
10 maybe.
X.
It was X.
X. It was X, wasn't it?
Right. It was 10. Okay,
so that's 12. So that's.
Oh
12.
yeah, you were there with your girlfriend Serena.
Yeah, she's coming for this one too.
So okay, here's what you got to tell Serena.
She's coming for the Palma pasta. She's
she
really
bringing-
not coming for the. It's for the Palma pasta.
Okay, so on that note, here, I don't have a sports betting sponsor, so I won't be going on
Oh,
about
not
gambling.
yet. You don't.
Well, it's been 13 years. Hebsy, this is 1801. I don't know if they're not knocking on my door, but I
My
do.
favorite tequila.
You know what? I googled.
My
Google
favorite
image
tequila.
search and the
Oh,
tequila.
boy, is that good.
Is it good?
Ooh.
Okay, I don't have tequila for you, but I do have fresh craft beer from Great Lakes Brewery.
Excellent.
And I want you to tell Serena, and you can, if Serena wants to bring her sons or whatever she wants to do, you can bring your sons. Everybody's invited. I want to make sure I'm clear that Palma Pasta is not just hosting us for this free event, but Palma Pasta is feeding everybody who comes out.
I know.
You will
so
get
good.
fresh Italian food.
I so miss it, Mike. It's been so long. Okay. Where I live, there's nothing like Palma Pasta, but where I live, it's so far away.
Well, I'm giving you a lasagna to bring back to wherever the heck you're from. I don't know if it's parts unknown, like when that wrestler would be from parts unknown.
No, it's not. No, it's Markham. I'm in Markham now.
Okay, I never
Gateway
knew if it was
to
Markham or Stouffville.
No, Gateway to Stouffville. See, I'm in the north. I'm very close to Durham region, actually.
Whoa.
Sort of on the edge of York, Durham.
Okay.
So yeah, 5 minutes from Stouffville.
And are you happy out there? You're happy?
Yeah, I wish the selection of restaurants was better.
Well, you can get the Palma Pasta delivered. So the lasagna. So TMLX 21. The 3 key points I want to make sure you know. In addition to the fact you'll be on the mic and selling your books and everything.
No, don't say that. You see, we're going to be talking sports, right? And I it so happens I'll be there. But it's not specifically to sell the book.
No, I mean, of course not. You're here.
You're shocked. By the way,
beloved
admission
FOTM.
is free, but you'd better buy a book from Hebsy.
Buy a book from Hebsy. You get your free meal from Palma Pasta, your free beer from Great Lakes Brewery, and this is what I wanted to tell you because it's new. Retrofestive.ca are going to give a gift to the first 75 people who come out. So you'll get...
What's that? What's
Retrofestive. I'm so glad, basically.
So Retro Ontario, I know that you've had. Yeah. That's awesome stuff.
He's got a new book, too.
I know it's about kids shows.
It's very good.
And you know what's going to bring back memories, too? Not from when I was a kid, but when I was raising my kids.
100%.
All those shows in the 90s.
100%.
I'd stick them in front of the TV and they'd, look at that, Dad.
So retrofestive.ca is Canada's pop culture and Christmas store. And they have an Oakville store that's open every day until Christmas. You can save 10% when you shop online using the promo code FOTM. And I'm just going to randomly read like a Google review here. Okay. Looking for tear-inducing, laugh until you can't breathe, comedic products that are wacky and goofy? You've come to the right place. Chloe wrote that on Google review. I copied that from Retrofestive. So Retrofestive will give a gift to everybody who comes out on Saturday, November 29th. So all that's happening.
So kind of like that's where Carrot Top would shop.
That's where Carrot Top would shop, yeah. When he's in town, he goes to the Retrofestive shop in Oakville. But you can also go to retrofestive.ca and Ty Schwartz will take care of you.
Why not? Retro Festive. I like that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool new sponsor just for November and December because it's the holiday season. Now, Gare Joyce did write in for a quick question here, and then I want to get back to the book here. Oh, yeah. So
Gare Joyce, the writer?
Gare Joyce, the writer. He's living in Kingston now.
I know.
Ask Hebsy how he ended up doing a stint in Ottawa. The townies had no time for him or me.
Yeah, I was working in Ottawa when they first started their sports radio station. So the Ottawa radio version of The Fan would have been in the late 1990s. And they took over a frequency, I forget, it was some pop station or whatever, AM frequency. And it was called OSR, Ottawa Sports Radio. And all the Ottawa Senators games were on this station. And naturally, they're promoting the hell out of it. Alexei Yashin over here, Daniel Alfredson over there. There's Ron Tugnut. There's, there's Damian Rhodes and all the, right?
Nasty, yeah.
And now they've had a team for a few years, but now they've got an official radio station, all the games, whatever. And Dean Brown is doing the play-by-play, and Dean and Gord. And anyway, so I get a phone call, and it's like, we would love for you to be part of Ottawa Sports Radio. And I'm like, I'm working in Toronto on Headline Sports, which became The Score. I'm doing 5 nights a week. And I was doing weekends. So I think my days off were Thursday and my days off were Thursday and Friday. Those are the days I didn't work at Headline Sports. Okay. So those were the days they wanted me to be up in Ottawa doing the afternoon show with JR, John Rodenberg, and Senators pre and post game and that whole thing like that. So every week, Thursday afternoon, I would fly to Ottawa. I would do the show Thursday in the studio from like 4 to 7, the afternoon drive show. Sure. If there was a game that night, we'd go to the game. And then I'd stay over. And then the next day, the Friday, I would check out of the hotel, go to the radio station, do the afternoon show. Show was over. Cab waiting for me, or limo, or whatever, a car, right to the airport on an 8 o'clock flight, right, or a 9 p.m. flight from Ottawa to Toronto, and then land home and then go home. I did it every week for like 6 months or so, all winter. And then it was getting to be it was tough because I had 2 little kids at home and everything. Anyway, long story short, if that's possible at this point, after 6 months, I'm burned. And I'm saying, for me to keep doing this, I got to be making more money. I got to spend more time in Ottawa too, but I got to be making more money. And they said, no. And I went, okay, then fine. And that was the end of that experiment. So for 6 months, I was an Ottawa reporter and a Toronto reporter at the same time. I followed the Leafs, I followed the Senators.
But that's got to be grueling.
It was grueling, okay? But you know what it is when they wave money at you and say, can you do this? And you go, making hay while the sun shines, or however you're thinking, daddy needs a new pair of whatever, a couple thousand more for a vacation, whatever it was. It's very hard to say no when they're offering you that. And you think you can do it. You say, I can do that. I can travel and I can do this and I can be there and be up early and 4 o'clock in the morning and still, you think you can. And after a while you believe, and then you come crashing down. One day you start to cry like I did when I was away from home. I missed my kids. I missed my wife. I was like, whatever. The money didn't make a difference at that point. I was really quite lonely. Right. And I was, I'd been doing it for a while and just said, I can't do this anymore. Yeah, and I saw people that were the same as me, but they kept doing it. It was ruining their life in other ways, but they kept doing it because that's what they were put on this earth for.
But that's an addiction. I find that's an addiction too, is I cannot leave money on the table.
Correct. And at some point in your life, you will get to the point, hopefully, where you go, I don't need this anymore. Yeah, there's going to be a balance. I reached that point. In some cases, I thought it was too late, but then I saw others and said, no, it wasn't too late. It was probably just right.
Well, hey, there's a question from Mark Weisblot, who read your book and also gives it a positive review. He says it's very good.
Can you guys who are giving positive reviews do me a favor and go to Google, or like if you got it on Amazon, and write the reviews? Those reviews are so powerful. And they get it, like I think you say, Mike, they get into the algorithm.
I'll do that.
It's unbelievable, right? Like I saw this one, I won't say who the book is by, but the author must have gotten a couple of friends, or what. These were glowing 5-star whatever, and they made the rounds. and I'm going, reviews, 2. And both of them spectacular. Right. Those were the only 2 reviews for the book, and those 2 great reviews, it's a bestseller by now.
Wow. Okay. He says, shout out. There's a shout out in the book to local broadcaster Russ Salzberg, who along with Peter Gross, because he knows my dear friend Peter Gross, along with Peter Gross, were ahead of the curve. Hebsy joined on TV. Russ has been around in New York City since the earliest WFAN and is still online to this day. Like, what can you tell us youngsters about Russ Salzberg?
All right, so when I had a radio show on CKEY, this would have been 1982 and 83, I used to have a show every Friday called Trivia Night. Now, I got this idea from Bob McCown because we would throw trivia stuff around. Bob was my mentor. He's the one who hired me at First in Radio, like a big brother. I'll be quite honest here. And if it wasn't for him, and he really backed me. When you got someone that's in your corner and they have some influence, it's tremendous. That's it. That's the guy. And there's a whole chapter. I mean, there's lots in the book about Bob and his show and, what I learned from him about the business. And remember, he started in radio like me, and then he went to television, and who took over for him on Sportsline. So, there's a connection there. But, What was the question?
Salzburg,
Again? Sorry.
Russ Salzburg.
So anyway, I had the show on CKEY, and I used to do trivia night, and the deal was this. You'd call in. I would give you a question. You would give me a trivia question. If I couldn't answer that question, right, correctly, then I would give you a question of your choice from whatever category you wanted, right? And so this kid with a New York accent, a Brooklyn accent, would call in,
right,
and he'd give me a question, some wild question. Now, in those days, it's hard to verify it, so he would say, like, what were the name of the 4 linemen and blah, blah, blah. So I would get 3 of the 4. I wouldn't get the 4th guy. Are you sure? It was Harry Studmeyer. Okay, so go ahead. So now I would ask him, and then I would ask him a question. It was always like baseball. He would bring me a baseball question, and he would get it right, and he would win a prize, a Casio sports watch, a pair of sneakers, whatever it was. Anyway, the kid's name was Russ. We never did last names. It was Russ from Toronto, right? By the Jack from Montreal.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark. So it was never
Midtown
last
Gord.
names. And the reason it was never last names, because if I said, you ass or you jerk, or I hung up on the guy, he could have gone to the Canadian broadcast standards, and he could have fought, like, say, hey, people know my name is Russ Salzburg, and, for example, and he defamed me on the air.
right.
So you want to avoid, so there's no last names. So anyway, this guy would come in. We started a thing saying, look, you can't win, within a 6-month period more than once because you're taking it away from other people. So this guy, I think, won 2 of the first 3 weeks. And I said to my producer, Mitch Litvak, I said, look, this guy Russ calls, you can say to him, he's not eligible for the trivia anymore. Right. And he got mad. So what are you talking about? I know more than these other guys. And before I know it, he's on cable TV and he's calling basketball games, the Toronto Towers of the Continental Basketball Association. He's sitting courtside calling basketball games, and during the week he's calling my phone-in show with his opinions. And of course he becomes a sportscaster here in Toronto. So that's where Russ Salzburg started, calling my show and winning trivia. So I asked him the other day, because I was online with him, and I said, hey, Russ, you still got those Casio sports watches that you won from me back in the 80s? Anyway, he's doing fine.
Well, Weisblot says he won a contest from with Scruff Connors and Gene Velitis. I guess this is Q107 if it's Scruff Connors and Gene Velitis.
Absolutely.
They were auditioning sports guys, and he won a contest for listeners.
That's what it was. That's what it was. But it's right. He had gotten his experience doing as a caller on my show.
Right.
And he had personality, and he definitely you could that guy, and of course that distinct Brooklyn accent, the Dodger, Russ the Dodger. That's right. Yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that. That's great.
Well, that's why we need a Weisblot
in our life. That was Scruff and Gene.
Yeah,
they're auditioning sportscasters. Oh my! What year would that have been? 84. I'm going to say.
Yeah, before Brother Jake. So yeah.
So
84.
I got to find out from Gene. I got to find. That's great. That's radio history.
We got to reunite. Beautiful. We got to reunite. You and Russ and Gene. We can make this happen.
Easily. Well, Gene, I go on Gene's radio show. I've been on his show many times.
Is it 610?
610 CKTB.
Okay, yeah. I definitely heard about this.
All during the World Series, I was on there. Oh yeah.
I love how you guys are still together. Okay, because there's a question coming up on that. There's so much ground we got to cover. Hebsy, you don't have anything going on for the next several hours, do you?
Mike, I don't have to do anything till what time is it?
Until Mike Richards.
No, that's tomorrow.
I know.
No. I'm good. I got a full tank of gas in the car. I'm good for
all
the day.
right, Kelly, because this all builds up.
This is exciting, isn't it? Though I mean, I know that we're this
live,
but I haven't seen you.
I know.
Like we haven't touched each other in how long?
Hebsy
right?
just said I wanted to.
And I've been listening to the pods. They're great, right? And I've been keeping up with what's going on. I see pictures of you and your kids, right?
Did you hear I'm doing more music episodes? Like
I love
Finger
it.
11 came over. The Trues came over.
And you know what? I played golf with, what's his name in the Trues? We had played
McDonald. There's two. Colin McDonald is the lead singer, and John Angus is
John Angus.
guitarist.
Me, John Angus, and the producer Gavin Brown. Have you you've had Gavin on the show?
No, I haven't had Gavin.
Do you want Gavin on the show?
Yeah.
He's so good. He's got the best stories.
You had me at hello.
I think he played drums in Big Sugar, didn't he?
Big Sugar's all over this story because Gordy Johnson produced the early Trues.
That's right.
And you know what? Go ahead. I was going to say this ties back to Scruff in a way.
We're going down a rabbit hole.
But this is what we do:
yeah,
the tangents. The Toronto, what is it? Tangent mic'd. Somebody called it here. But Scruff Connors, of course, was from other than Q 97.7 Hits FM.
Yeah.
Here. And the White House of Rock, built by Siobhan Morris's dad,
yes,
Paulie
that's
Morris.
right, on Yates Street in St. Catharines.
Right, and they are very, very responsible for breaking not just the truths because of their homegrown contests, similar like Q had or CFNY had, but they also broke Finger 11 from Burlington in the same way.
Paralyzer, baby, one of the best songs I've ever. I mean, that is on. I hear that all the time. I love that stuff.
Well, they had 2 international hits. So we always talk about these bands and they're big in Canada, right? Like Canadian hits that we know and love. But 2 international hits from Finger 11. Paralyzer, which was huge, of course, maybe their biggest hit. And then One Thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Wouldn't that be something? I'm singing to you now. But I want to ask you a personal question because you came at the door and you look great.
Thank you.
Like, that's not even a personal question. That's me telling you. Like, you, honestly,
Yep.
I happen to know approximately your age. I don't know the exact.
I'm going to be 70.
See, honestly,
very soon.
You're putting me to shame here. You look
very
fantastic.
Soon. Thank you. Yeah. No, it reached a point in my life where I was like, I looked at a picture of myself and said, really? Oh man. You know, I've been really sloth-like. And it wasn't that I wasn't not working out. I mean, it's just I fell into some bad habits. And I really wanted to do something that was going to, you know, I wanted the longevity. Because it's like, I'm going to be 70, you know, what do I love to do? I like to be active and I like to play golf. And do you want to be playing golf when you're 80? Well, of course I do. Well, guess what? And 90 maybe even?
Sure.
I started doing intermittent fasting. But when I started, I was like, fasting, I can't fast. That's not for me. But it's easy because basically you're only eating in an 8-hour window.
Right. So it reduces your calorie consumption.
And the way I understood it was, instead of eating breakfast in the morning and whatever, let the stored fat that you've got in your body from let that be your energy, supply the energy, and drink a lot of water. Anyway, it works for me. I don't eat until noon.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll wait till 1, even 2 o'clock. I eat when I'm hungry, but I'm not necessarily I'm not starving at noon. I'm not looking at the clock going, I got to eat something.
No, you have a coffee.
I have coffee in the morning, and I drink water. And then I'll eat, and then by I stop eating at like after 8 p.m. After 8 p.m. I'm not hungry anymore. I'm satisfied.
Shut it down.
I go 16 hours without eating any food, and I work out, and I walk everywhere I can. I've always taken the stairs versus an escalator or an elevator.
Me
That's
too,
just
buddy.
the way I am.
Yeah.
And when we were in Vegas, there's a lot of walking and a lot of places with some, substantial escalators. Like going up to the top of the arena in Vegas, the T-Mobile Arena, that's a long way. And I'm stepping it and I'm going, Jesus Christ, like the CN Tower. My heart's beating like a rabbit, but I'm just used to that. So
you're good cardio fitness.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And I got to comment on your physical appearance in one other way, except to tell you that yesterday I'm at Casa Loma. And they got these towers, and they're spiral staircases, and there's the tallest tower. I think it's called Norman Tower. And of course, I said, I want to go to the top of Norman Tower and take a picture. And I was with a few other people, and we're going up, and they're talking, and I can hear they're winded, like having trouble to talk. And I'm just here to tap myself in the back and say, I was not winded at all. I think I'm in good cardio shape too, Hebsy.
Yeah.
So we're in the same boat.
I think we've learned from previous generations, but we see what's happened with this generation. I just came back from the States. Man, the servings, the amount of food. If I was to eat everything that was on my plate, I would be large. And I can see that's just the culture there.
And they're not walking. They're they're not taking the stairs, right? They're taking the elevator.
Oh no, look, I went walking. I mean, I didn't see anybody else walking. I mean, nobody was walking where I was. I mean, they drove to the shopping center or to the mall or whatever, and but no one was walking around.
Oh boy, we got to keep moving. That's what Dick Van Dyke always said. He said, just keep moving. And the guy is turning 100 soon. So Dick Van Dyke, shout out to him if he's listening.
My dad's 93.
I was going to ask how your dad's doing.
He's great, man. He's 93. He's like, I'm not going to, like, his mother went into a wheelchair when she was around 90. And look, when you're in a wheelchair, that changes things a lot. You've lost your independence completely that way. And so he's still got the cane happening and the walker if he needs it, but not getting me in a wheelchair.
He's still mobile. That's everything.
Yep.
Okay. I was going to ask you about your facial hair because you're rocking this goatee, which I hadn't typically seen when you'd come over for Hebsy on Sports. But what strikes me is the pigmentation. Are you dyeing that beard?
No, there's gray in there, isn't there?
There's a bit of like a
You know what's
solid,
fun-
but it's mostly black.
But my hair though too. There's a line in the hair where it's dark, and then the rest of it's gray, like in the back there. Look.
Oh, a little bit. Okay, but
Right?
but you're holding on to this pigmentation. How is this just good genes? Of course, it must be just
I
good
think
genes.
it is because I know people. There's people not my age, but I know guys. I'm like looking, going, do they dye their hair? Or is that their natural color? But I've noticed a big difference. You're right. A lot of people have their hair is naturally dark, and their beard starts to turn gray prematurely versus the rest of their hair.
Right.
And then there's other people whose portions of their beard, like if I was to grow the full beard, it's gray. It's Santa Claus,
okay.
white to here. But in
But
this
your part
area
there
here,
is dark. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
impressed. I did periodically. I'll just for fun. If I had like it's time to shave, I'll leave something there, and then I realized very quickly, it's pure white. And
Yeah.
I just look bad. I don't like
Yes.
this look, and
Yes.
I say I'm going to get rid of this thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to rock this thing. But you don't have that problem.
Now,
so
you
I'm
know
here
what?
to pat
It's
you on the
boredom
back.
too. The other thing is that I thought, oh, geez, like the cover of the book is me clean shaven and with
took that pic?
and that's Bill King.
I know FOTM Bill King.
You got it. The
Yeah.
great Bill King. Bill King. I say this. Bill King is a better photographer than he is a musician.
Wow.
And he's a spectacular musician and producer. But as a photographer, he's got a feel, right, for I don't know what it is, a texture. Like a great jazz musician would, I guess. He's got that. He's just got it.
got
And
the
the
eye.
pictures he takes are beautiful. And I asked him specifically, I said, Bill, I wanted him to take the cover picture. And I had an idea. It came from an idea. And the actual picture that I saw was a Sports Illustrated cover of Bill Laimbeer of the Detroit Pistons with his hands over his head, basically going, what kind of call was it? It was a great picture. And I asked Bill if we could duplicate that look. And yeah, I'm really happy with that. There's a problem, though.
What's
There's
the problem?
nothing in the book that says cover photo by Bill King.
That's bigger mistake than the audio slave
exactly.
mistake.
I cringing kind of.
Oh, you got to get like one line.
Yeah, I'm so, yeah. I felt bad about that.
Oh,
There
man.
was somebody, screwed up there in the first print. I don't know what it was, and I'm going to get in trouble for saying it, but yeah. So I'm telling you, folks, cover photo by Bill King, just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The other thing I don't feel so bad is, Bill was paid for his services. There's none of this is free stuff. Okay. People don't do stuff for free, and I would never ask a professional to do something for free that they, do professionally. Right?
Well, what if somebody like a friend of yours asked you for some for their own independent project, not for a big company, but asked you for some like voiceover
Of
work?
course. Wouldn't even think about it.
Right.
Of course. But if it's so they can earn money, then no, right? So in my case, I'm going to ask Bill to do something for free so that I can make money off. No. So, I paid him. I asked him how much he charged and, professionally, and okay, fine. And so, anyway, so I feel at least that he got paid, for it, but the credit, would have been anyway. Yeah.
You smoking cannabis these days?
Yeah. Yeah. Grow it.
You get 4 plants, right? Are you going 4?
I only did 2 this year, and it was a bad year. And I think a lot of people will tell you.
What makes it a bad year?
I don't know. It was something weird, but the yield wasn't what it was in previous years. Depends on the strain, I guess.
Sure.
But also, this was an exceptionally long growing season this year,
Okay.
Mike. It was really weird. Like when you see snow mixed in with leaves that haven't fallen off trees, that's bizarre.
Yeah.
So there's just something about this year where you would think, it's a longer growing season, so everything should have grown more. But I don't think it was just odd this year.
I think Peter Gross, who does not consume cannabis anymore, he grew a plant simply because he could legally do it. Like
Yeah.
it was like a principle thing for him. Like because back in the day when he was illegal, he would got caught by somebody or whatever.
Oh, is that what
So it
happened?
was like in principle, he grew a plant because he could do it. Like it was like I'm doing this now because it's legal.
Right.
Like, so
And what is he doing with the product?
I guess he gives it to friends. I don't know, but I got. He's got. By the way, I will. He will also be at TMLX 21.
Can I tell you a great Peter Gross story? At some point at TMLX 21.
Okay,
Remind me.
Oh, I was gonna. I think I'm gonna do it now. Okay.
No. I wouldn't take up airtime.
Yeah.
No, but when Peter's on, because
Okay.
I got to jump in with a great
Okay.
story about Peter.
Done. Mental note taken for sure. But I brought up cannabis because if you need to supplement your supply, shopkindling.ca is a new sponsor of Toronto Mike, and it's kind of awesome in 2025 that if you order between 9 a.m. and 11 p.m., they will have it in your possession within the hour. So it's the delivery is free and it's under an hour in your possession. You can track it like an Uber.
Wow.
And it's discreet. Not that you would care because you're a Hebsy man, but if you
What do you mean? I want to be more discreet than anyone else.
Why?
Come on.
Like why? I feel like that would be part of the Hebsy brand that
well, it is, but I mean, it's still discreet, meaning,
Well, to me, discreet is like, okay, I don't know, you're a kindergarten teacher, let's say.
Okay.
And on a Friday night, you're getting your delivery of cannabis. Maybe you don't want your neighbors, maybe one of your neighbors' kid is in your class. You don't want them to see the cannabis truck show up. But
it's okay to go to the LCBO, right, and grab a 40-pounder next. Okay,
right.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
So hypocritical.
I'm with you, man.
Come on.
I'm with you. But it is discreet, if that's your concern.
That's
but shopkindling.ca. And real quickly here, I want to shout out Doug Mills from Blue Sky Agency, because if there's any listeners looking for dynamic and creative work environments, Doug is your guy. He's got partners with established office furniture brands like Silent and Green Furniture Concept and Rouliard. And he can be reached right now, Doug at blueskyagency.ca. Engage Doug and chat him up about this. And Hebsy, you know, because I've told you 100 times, recyclemyelectronics.ca. If you in Markham, if you have any old cables, old electronics, old devices, you don't throw that in the garbage because those chemicals end up in our landfill. Go to recyclemyelectronics.ca, put in your postal code, and find out where to drop them off to be properly recycled.
Good, because I got tons. I mean, I got cords. Like, what is this for? Is this a flash cord here? Do they make these anymore?
You know, we all have these cables that haven't been relevant in decades, and we hold on to them because we always think one day we're going to find that device or something, and where's the cable? Oh my God, I threw it out. Now I can't use this thing. Quick shout out to a few podcasts, and then I have more questions for you, Hebsy man. But the questions are coming. I'm going to shout out Life's Undertaking, which is a great podcast from Brad Jones at Ridley Funeral Home. You've met Brad, right, Hebsy?
Yep.
So he's been a great supporter. We produce Life's Undertaking, and you can listen to that fine podcast. I get to co-host that like I did on Hebsy on Sports. Oh, remind me to thank you about something regarding Hebsy on Sports in a moment. But I just want to make sure Nick Iones gets love, because Nick has a podcast called Building Toronto Skyline, and he has another podcast called Building Success, and they're both great, and I urge people to check it out. Thank you, Nick Iones from Fusion Corp Developments Incorporated. Thank you for the part you wrote in your book about parades, and you talked about the Raptors parade. And not only did I get a shout out, Hebsy man, in your book, there's a picture of me.
Yeah. There's no photo credit, you notice, on that picture, because
I took that photo, didn't I? Selfie?
Did you take the selfie, or did I take it?
No,
or did I take the selfie?
I took it.
Did you get credit? Look at the picture. Did you get credit?
I don't know. I didn't even look for that, but
you should, because on the side bar of it, it should be photo credit. I don't know if you did.
Well, it's near the
God.
end. Okay, Hebsy, this isn't.
I thought I might have taken that one. Wait a second.
Okay.
Wait. There was more than one picture. Hang on, Mike.
There's one picture of me.
We both took pictures.
I know this one I took because you're not looking at the.
I know where to look. I know where to look.
Okay, well, you know where to look when you take the selfie, but this one is absolutely I took the selfie, and that's why I remember sending it to you.
Did you get credit?
No, but I think it's part of a story where you and I went to the Raptors parade after an episode of Hebsy on Sports.
Yeah.
And it's possible you, Hebsy, caused a...
That's not possible. You know what happened.
Share this story because it's so relevant.
Okay, so here's the story. So the day of the Raptors parade, Mike and I are recording an episode of Hebsy on Sports. It's beautiful. Gorgeous Friday, if you remember the day. Just beautiful. And remember, we're done pretty early in the morning. Like, we're done by... 10 a.m., Mike? Even before that.
Yeah.
I think even before that, we were done. Kids were all gone to school or whatever was going on.
Right.
Your kids were so young then.
Yeah.
And then we rode our bikes along the Martin Goodman Trail, right along the waterfront, to the Princess Gates, where the Raptors championship parade was going to begin.
Right.
And if you recall, Mike, we just had the discussion saying, why would they start at, it's a long way.
Right.
Normally it's right at the Union Station, and it's 6 blocks up Bay Street to Nathan Phillips Square.
Right.
But somebody decided, let's start at the Princess Gates. And so we got there fairly early, probably maybe, 20 minutes, half an hour before the parade started, right? And Lakeshore Boulevard there is extremely wide. It's 4 wide lanes.
Yeah.
And normally for a parade, you line up on the curb, right?
Right.
Not on the roadway, on the curb.
Right.
And there's steel barriers there, or there's a police presence there, or there's something.
Right.
So Mike and I are there, and we're looking, and we're thinking, there's no way that the floats are going to go 4 lanes wide, right? It's going to be a one lane of floats kind of thing. And I'm looking around and going, what are we standing on the curb for? Screw this. So Mike and I go to basically the middle of the road.
Right.
Right? And so we're on the edge of where one of the painted lines is for the middle lane, let's say, right? And we stand right there because we know the parade is going to go in one procession right past us, and we can now touch the people in the parade floats and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So remember, Mike, we're standing there, and everyone is, remember, there's people on both sides of Lakeshore Boulevard, right, on the curb. And I don't know, what is it? It's 100 feet wide or whatever it is. Yeah. And people are looking, going, what are these two guys doing? And anyway, slowly, people start coming off the curb where they've been standing patiently, waiting for the parade, and come to where we are in the middle of the frickin' road from both sides of Lakeshore. And now this 4-lane road has been reduced to one narrow lane, and everybody else, because there's no barriers and no police presence, has now decided they're going to move to the middle of the road. And what did we start here? So Mike and I see the beginning of the parade. It's terrific. It's fabulous.
It was really wonderful.
It was really great. And now it's after half an hour, it's done. And so we got our bikes and sees, okay, that's it for the parade. We've seen it. Mike goes his way. I go my way. We end up, I go home. You know, it took me, I don't know, half an hour.
Well, you were going to college in Clinton.
Yeah, I was going to Little Italy. And Mike eventually ended up going home too, or you went to see your wife or whatever it was.
Oh yeah, I can't remember.
Whatever it was. So now I turn on the TV and I see, and I see this shot from overhead of this massive crowd swallowing up this little, procession. I'm going, what the heck? And the announcer on TV, and I forget what station, says, well, I don't know how this happened, but this is a major problem as the I think they said something about the barriers. Someone went down, something about no barriers or knocked down the barriers or whatever it was. Because by the time the procession got to where the barriers are, now it was really swallowed up.
Right.
There was nowhere to go.
Right.
And it's a hot day. Right. And there's 100,000 people waiting at Nathan Phillips Square, and they're dying. There's no shade, right? And people are dying, and they're waiting for this, parade that's now taken way too long. And I remember, I think, Mike, I might have texted you or something, kind of like, shit, look what we started. Look what we started.
We did that.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Nobody else would have gotten off the curb, right, and had the balls or the stupidity to say, let's go in the middle, except me and Mike. I'm like, what are we? Something had to happen. And basically, in the book, Mike, and you read it, and there's a lot of stories like that where Hebsy did something like, you're not supposed to do this, but I got to get the story. I got to get closer or whatever it was. So we would do something that we weren't supposed to do that was either illegal or whatever to get around, and then we were ready to explain. Like if a cop would have come up to you and me saying, what are you guys doing here? We would have come up with a good excuse.
We're from Hebsy on Sports.
Hey, what do we know?
We're media.
Yeah, we're media. Here's our credentials.
I've been using that all the time. I'm media.
And you are.
I know. It's somehow it worked out. Okay, that's interesting, because what I like about your book is you'll often share anecdotes about the fierce competition between the CFTO people and the global people, the city people and everything. And especially when it comes to access, something like access to George Bell or something, and then you'll talk about Joe Tilley got him, and you guys, just that whole era. And then to speak to that, but I'm going to ask you a question from Alan Gold. Alan, I believe, I have to confirm 100%, I believe he'll be at TMLX 21. I hope he's there. We call him Hey Ref. He writes, back in the day, could Hebsy imagine a day like we have now where there isn't a person doing the evening news who's a sportscaster? He goes, I'm old enough to remember the legend Brian Williams doing local sports on CBLT, CBC Toronto. Yeah, there's no more Joe Tilleys.
No, that role does not exist anymore. If people want their sports news, they're going to tune into one of the 24-hour sports stations. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're both aligned with one of the local cable stations too. So they'll just take the, now here's TSN sportscaster so-and-so with your little sports break or stuff like that. And also we can all get it on our devices in advance. The thing that I liked was knowing that at a certain time, you could watch a certain show, live with, up-to-date live. And now if I flip on, TSN or Sportsnet at 11 p.m., I kind of still expect the late sports cast, but it's not on generally. It's, they're running a game or something like that. So I kind of miss that appointment viewing of the sportscast, but I understand it. And naturally the local sportscaster, the person, now it's time for local sports, doesn't exist anymore. And of course, those stories about high school sports or local sports people or, come on, gather around the TV. They're going to do a story about the Oshawa Generals. And no, doesn't exist anymore.
I remember stories about the Power Trojans, the Michael Power Trojan. They'd be playing a big game against, say, Mike's or something, and absolutely City TV was covering it.
Look, City was all over that. I mean, that was all over it. They were at every high school. I could still see McKinney and Greg Manziuk and John Saunders and Jim Taddy and Russ Salzberg and Peter Gross and hang on, there's more. Dave Reynolds, Debbie Van Kiekebelt, Ann Romer, Dave Reynolds. Hang on, I'll give you another one. She went to New York. Mary Garofalo, thank you.
I just talked to Thalia Assuris.
There you go. I used to work with her at Global TV. Yep.
Yeah, and she's still dear friends of Mary. They both went to the States.
Yeah, terrific. So, if you go, and I list a lot of these people in the book, but, if you grew up in the area where we saw these people on television, heard them on the radio, read their stuff, that kind of thing, it's amazing whatever happened to, like, people ask me that. Whatever happened to so-and-so that used to, whatever happened to Gail Smith from CFTO?
Well, that one I get asked a lot, too.
Whatever happened to?
Where is she?
I
would love to talk to Gail Smith.
But I worked with a guy, Richard Brown, who was a fantastic tremendous newscaster, right? And then next I heard he was here, and he was there. He was in Spokane, he was in Portland, he was in Seattle. And there are people that do that. They move around a lot.
You mentioned City TV's Jim Taddy, of course. So when people think about Mark Hebscher, we think about how fucking great Sportsline was, and we think about Mark Hebscher and Jim Taddy. I saw the golf photo from a few years ago, but maybe a little Jim Taddy real talk. Like, what is the relationship like between Mark Hebscher and Jim Taddy?
Perfectly fine, okay? Honest to God, perfectly. Jim lives in Hamilton now. He's doing, a fair bit of radio, right? He's doing Raptors. Yeah, TSN Radio, Raptors, and Leafs, if they have the games, pre and post game stuff, and doing the occasional gig on TSN 1050. But you have to understand something. He lives in Hamilton. I live in Markham, right? Like, even the idea of we'll get together in Mississauga. No, and he works, and so the opportunity to get together, is very difficult. Like I said, we golfed a few years back now. But
no, I remember because you were doing Hebsy on
and
sports.
And I don't know how many people you talk to on the phone, how many of your friends you're on the phone with or whatever.
Just Peter Gross.
So have I spoken to him recently? No. Are we on bad terms? Not in the least bit. Dude, we would not have gone golfing and kibitzed around and whatever, however many years ago that was. And then gone back to what people think was a, strained relationship? No. We worked together for 11 years. Okay. And so after 11 years, I don't care what kind of relationship it is, whether it's romantic, whether it's a business relationship, there's going to be bumps in the road. And so I know there was at least one person, a columnist, I won't mention his name, Toronto Sun, who really wanted he really wanted to blow up. He wanted to see evidence that there was a real problem between the two of us. He was predicting that one would be jealous of the other, that one would not want to work with the other. He really had a hard-on for this relationship, on-air relationship, to fail. It was kind of sad. Because a lot of people who read this particular columnist actually believed what he was writing was the truth, and that Phil Kessel was eating hot dogs from a place in front, and all this kind of stuff. So when you say stuff like, when you write things and you infer, all right, you don't put down the word rumor. Oh, rumor has it, because that's just but it's like, wow, I guess these two don't get along so well, because one is doing the hosting the games and the Hebsy Awards, and the other one looks like he's jealous when he looks over at him on TV. I'm reading it, like all that shit.
But why would somebody, I think I know who you're talking about, I won't say the name, but because obviously you're not saying the name, but why would somebody, is it just that maybe bringing down others raises you somehow? Is that the...
Do you know people like that, Mike?
Yeah, I do.
I know a lot of people like that.
I do too.
Too many people like that.
Right. Like if you go down, somehow I'm elevated, which is just ridiculous. Like let's all rise together.
Oh yeah! Look, when Joe Tilley and I had that punch up, it wasn't a punch up; it was an argument, and it was his cameraman Rob Mulligan. And remember, I know these guys; like I knew them professionally, right? And I knew them personally. And I also know that when you got a chance at a story, and you got a chance to beat your competitor, you go for it, man. But in the heat of the moment, it was like, hey, you're not being fair. If that happened today, I wouldn't have a chance because he was working for the rights holders. And the rights holders would have been the only ones who would have had access. You see? The rest of the media would not have had access. And the Blue Jays today's Blue Jays would have said, we're not going to let you talk to so-and-so or so-and-so. We're going to bring the players out that we want you to talk to. We're going to create the narrative. All right? And if you notice in all these press conferences, it's the same person starts the questioning. You notice that, Mike? Let's go to John Schneider's press conference. Boom. Who's always asking the first question?
Sportsnet.
Keegan Matheson.
Oh, Keegan Matheson from MLB. Okay.
Right, because Keegan Matheson works for the league.
Right.
He works for the league, and his beat is the Blue Jays, right? So he works for the league and the team.
Right.
And I don't mean that he's not a journalist. He wrote a terrific book. But
the franchise.
Part of his job is, right, because he's working for the league, MLB, and a member team, he's not going to start with negative. He's not going to get into stuff.
Well, this is the big problem, right?
He's not going to do it. He's going to throw not a softball question, but it's like John Schneider's here now. This is the 95th game in a row that John Schneider has come out after the game to answer questions from the media. 95 games in a row.
Right.
And so here's Keegan going, and he's got to start things going.
Right.
Well, John, seventh inning, this guy said, what was your feeling there? It's never, John, what the hell happened in the ninth when the base runner got thing, or what happened with Vladdy there? It's not going to be that way. You got to start it off easy, and then maybe what happens is John Schneider decides he's going to say, I was a bit disappointed in Vladdy on that base running or whatever, and so it's filtered, right? You're not going to hear a voice going, what, John, people are going to saying that you should be fired. What do you think about that? You're not going to get that because the PR person is going to take you away, and then your boss is going to get a note saying,
right.
we're taking away your credentials. Your credentials are being taken away because we don't like the questions that you're asking, and we can do this because we're the team. And you go ahead and complain about it in your newspaper or on your show or whatever. We do what we want. We own the team. We own the media now. They do. They own the media. Don't ever forget that. There's nothing that the mainstream media is going to do to make the Toronto Blue Jays or Toronto Maple Leafs change their minds on their narrative or where they stand. Not going to happen. And there's an incident in the book. There's one in the book where where Mark Shapiro goes to one of the Sportsnet reporters and said, I don't like what you wrote about our drafting. Called the guy out and essentially was like, you're going to keep writing stuff like this. Guess what? Not going to have a job for much longer. The threat was there. It was never said. It was implied.
Right.
Don't write this stuff. Write the good stuff. Talk about our good draft picks, not the ones we missed out on.
Well, this is like when Wilner was sent home for criticizing how Cito Gaston was using the bullpen or whatever.
Oh, yeah. And so where's the independent broadcaster? When I worked at Global, we didn't have any rights or anything like that. Bill Bird would ask Cito Gaston a question. If Cito didn't answer it, Bill Bird would ask it the same question. He'd rephrase it.
What a different time.
He'd rephrase it. He'd say, Cito, you got to tell the listeners. What happened between you and Dwayne Ward? Why did you snatch the ball from Dwayne Ward's hands? We all saw it. And Cito's like, well, that's between him and me. And Bill was like, not good enough. We need to know.
But it's almost like you're... Go ahead.
Right? Adversarial. You got to cover this guy every day. Well, it's been flipped. Now Cito goes, let's say, if it was Cito or the manager, whoever it is, goes to the PR person and says, I don't want to talk to so-and-so. I don't want to answer his questions. I don't want that. So, okay, no problem. We won't let him in, or you can't ask that, or we'll have our reporter.
But that's like Trump's White House.
We'll have our reporter ask the questions, the questions that our manager wants to answer.
Right.
Let's do it that way.
Smith or whatever.
Let's do it that way. No. That's Keegan. Remember, Remember, he works for MLB.com. Folks, don't kid yourself. Anyone that works for a league-operated website, anyone that writes for NHL.com or NFL.com or ML, they work for the league. Right? They may have been former journalists, but their job here is not to be a journalist. It's to be a league representative from the media, right? The narrative is going to be positive. It's not going to be you don't see on MLB gambling stuff. You don't see the whole inside story of Class A and the pitch. No,
But most people are sophisticated enough to know if they're getting their news from MLB.com, be it Keegan or anyone else, nobody's expecting hard hitting thing about asking about, I don't know, performance enhancing drugs or gambling in sport. Like that's not, we know that you're going there for just the X's and O's and on field stuff. Right? I had Mike Zeisberger down here.
But do you think so?
But Zeisberger works for NHL.com, and he said as much. He said, yeah, we're not here to write the negative stuff.
Of course not. Because, again, it's the league-operated website. Like I tell a lot of young journalists, I say, you want to be a journalist? I said, it may not be journalism, but go write some stuff for a league-run web. And I don't care if it's the National Women's Soccer League or it's your your high school, your high school football or whatever your writing is, right? If it's going to be hard-hitting journalism, it's not something they're going to want on the league-operated website. And there's many of them, and a lot of people cannot differentiate. They do expect news, and what they're reading on the league websites is shaping their thinking towards the positive and away from anything that might, deter them from being a fan.
Are you surprised in 2025 that TSN still pays Rick Westhead to be a investigative journalist in the world of sports?
I'm thankful that they do, and I think his stuff's in the Toronto Star too. Am I not mistaken?
Oh.
Doesn't a lot of the Westhead stuff end up in the Star?
I should know the answer. Maybe only because Rick also wrote a book, and he's going to come over at some point soon. But
I haven't read it, but it's I'm looking forward to that. That's We Are Lions or something like that.
Lions, yes.
Yeah. But I refer in my book about Rick Westhead is really the only an investigative journalist, and unfortunately, it's redundant. A journalist investigates.
I guess it means he has more time to drill into one topic over a long period of time.
Yes, and no one has done a better job of exposing, the seamy underbelly of junior hockey to various degrees, and the racism involved, the sexism involved, everything like that, but he's the only one.
But good on Bell Media. It's weird to say that sentence, but good on Bell Media that they do employ a Rick Westhead and give them independence to do that, considering they're the rights holders for the juniors.
Right.
And you'd think as a partner, we need, positive spin and all this, get the eyeballs on this big
He's
big
pretty
tournament.
much the only one. I can tell you that I didn't see any Sportsnet coverage from London, Ontario during the courts. Rick Westhead was doing lots of reports. I do know this. Sportsnet sent someone I had never heard of before or had never been on camera before. I believe it was a producer, don't know the person's name, and that person was in front of a courthouse doing the stand-ups, but no credibility there. I'm sure Sportsnet said, look, let's stay away from this. You know how much money we got invested in hockey? Stay away from this story.
Wow.
Okay? Give it as little coverage as possible.
And it's worth pointing out, CBC was covering it because I know one of the reporters covering it. So shout out to MF. Oh my goodness. Okay. And by the way, Ray Hurd, he's the guy who put you guys together, Hebsy and Taddy, right?
Yep.
Ray Hurd, TV, global TV executive here. Oh, by the way, and also in your book, Hebsy, I'm trying to make sure I get my things before I just get the last questions here, because we should do this more often. But I will talk to you at TMLX 21, November 29th, and everybody's invited. Free event, no RSVP. Just show up. Second floor of Palma's Kitchen. Oh, Dave Charles is going to be there.
Oh, good. I haven't seen Dave in such a long time. And you know what? He invited me to a Jays game. I think it was last season. I had to cancel. Something came up, and I felt really bad. And apparently it was like one of the great games of the year. And so I felt bad. I'm looking forward to seeing Dave. Haven't seen him in a while.
He would love to hear, because he said if you talk to Hebsy, ask him what pieces the Jays need to win a World Series. Dave Charles.
Not Bo Bichette.
Well, that's a question from Kevin in Alberta. Does Bo resign?
Yeah, no. See, here's the thing. If he resigns as a second baseman.
I agree with you.
He's the worst. Folks, Bo Bichette is the worst shortstop in the league. We're talking as a shortstop, not as a hitter.
Right.
He's the worst shortstop in the league. I don't care which way you frame it. Now he's got a bad knee. He's going to plant that knee? No. So if the Jays resign him, they resign him as a second baseman, and second baseman don't get shortstop money, if you know what I mean. Right?
But he's maybe the best hitter in the league, pure hitter.
Maybe, right. But could he run? Can he play the field? Do you see him being a DH in 5 years?
Oh, I don't know how bad this knee is. Like, I don't know. I just assumed with some time he would be able to run those bases. And
well, you would hope so.
Okay.
He's playing on an artificial surface as well, which as an infielder isn't as bad as if you're an outfielder running out there. But, running the bases. I mean, his problem was he couldn't turn the base. He could run kind of in a straight line, but he couldn't turn at all. He couldn't, make that turn, and he was a liability. And if you remember, they had to pinch run for him with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who is not a good base runner.
And he's on third base with one out.
Yep.
Am I right? What do you think about two things in that play?
Right.
I'm kind of haunted by certain plays in that Game 7.
Are you? Because you know what? The media has gone and said, Toronto Blue Jay fans will never forget this. And they've taken that play. And they remember the Jim Sundberg triple in 1985 was that was the
right.
This particular moment. They're saying we'll live in Blue Jay infamy. We'll live in infamy that they should have and they could have and they would have, but they didn't.
So two things. One is we've now all seen aerial footage of the leadoff he had.
Yes.
And we know if he's 6 inches closer to the bag, we are the World Series champions in 2025.
Correct. But also the guy who fielded the ball, the second baseman right?
Rojas, right?
If he doesn't bobble it, he gets him by 10 feet.
Right.
So if this and if that, and you can go through all of those things. And why didn't he run?
The slide.
Why didn't he run through the base?
Right.
Exactly. But here's the other thing. When was the last time you ever saw a play at the plate on a force where the guy was safe? At the plate on a force. You haven't.
It's very rare.
It's extremely rare. Go ahead and find a guy running hard from third and beating the throw to the plate on a force play. Doesn't happen. So a lot of things have to happen there. Number one is if you're a base runner, you're told, do not get doubled off.
Right.
Ever.
And
number two, don't get picked off.
Right.
The back pick.
Right.
And there's plenty of examples where a good catcher will, signal for the back pick. He sees the guy get a secondary lead. He's all ready to go. The pitch is a ball or the pitch is swung and missed, and the catcher, boom, back to third. The guy gets picked. Remember what happened to Vladdy a few years ago, Mike?
I remember.
Getting picked off. And remember what had happened to Addison Barger in Game 6. Doubled off to end the game. And so you can say all you want from sitting where you are, but all the players themselves will tell you the same thing, that Kiner-Falefa did not make a mistake. He played it the way you're supposed to, by the book, and that's been drilled into every baseball player from the time he was 8 years old. Don't get doubled off. Don't get backpicked.
There's a play in that Game 7 I was reminded of. I guess you were talking about who's going to DH, and I was thinking about George Springer, and then I don't think I've heard this addressed, and I did stop consuming coverage basically right after the Dodgers clinched the World Series.
Right.
I tapped out for a bit. So maybe it was covered, and maybe I'm the last guy to clue in here. But early in that Game 7, George Springer, I want to say picked off. I don't know. He was walking to second base with 2 out or something.
Right. He thought it was ball 4 on the batter, on Bichette, I guess it was. He thought it was ball 4, but it wasn't ball 4. Right? And he thought he was going to second base because Bo was going to first base.
Yeah, he was walking to second.
And the umpire took his time on the call. It was a brain fart
but
for sure.
I think that's two different plays. I think that's when Bichette got caught. This is on Game 7. It was different. Because I understand that Bichette, he thought it was ball 4.
Okay, got it.
Walking.
So which one?
So there's a play early in Game 7. There's a play where Springer, the Schulman and Buck never explain it, and I don't ever got an explanation. But basically, it's early in Game 7, which you know what Game 7s are like in the World Series. Every play is under a magnifying glass. But Springer gets kind of caught walking to second, like he was mentally checked out and thought something different was happening. But it wasn't like the Bichette play where you can say, oh, he thought it was ball 4 and he started whatever. So we'll leave it because maybe you don't have the explanation either, except this seemed to never get addressed, that this veteran who's won a World Series, this savvy veteran of 36 years old or whatever, in Game 7 made a really boneheaded mental base running error.
Yes. But now you're Dan Schulman and Buck Martinez. You see this happening. Yeah. Under your breath, you're like, oh, jeez. On the air, do you point out at that point? Everyone's watching. What does Buck have to say? What does Springer have to say? And then maybe the producer says, let's just leave this one alone here or whatever.
Well, get your head in the game.
No, well, hang on a second. It's the home team announcers as well. And it's maybe, and they might have said, oh my God, what a boneheaded move to themselves. But for the broadcast, you conveniently ignore something as opposed to picking on, and saying and pointing out the shortcomings of your star player, one of your star players, and I can't believe he did that. Would you say that? Would you articulate that on the air? And I don't know if every announcer would do that. Maybe the analyst would. Like, for example, Joe Siddle might have pointed that out if he's sitting next to Dan. Caleb Joseph might have pointed that out at the time, but they didn't. But after the game, after the game, Siddle, Caleb, everybody but Hazel, basically, if there was a problem. But during the broadcast, and again, who are they broadcasting for? Owned by Rogers. Team is owned by Rogers. Station is owned by Rogers. Stadium is owned by Rogers. You work for Rogers. You're gonna temper it a bit.
Right. Speaking of Rogers, did you know Arash Madani was over fairly recently? Maybe
I did, and in fact, I listened to it, and I follow Arash. I like him, even though he likes the Minnesota Vikings. I like him. He's a good guy.
All right. Shout out to Truro Arash.
And he's covering the tennis too. He was covering the tennis as well. And I like.
You're still following tennis, right? Still a big fan? I still do. And it's unfortunate what happened to Arash and a lot of other people that we know that were doing did a good job for a number of years, and for whatever reason, I think the person that they replaced him with is making 1/3 of maybe what his salary was. I'm just guessing. And this person is very inexperienced, and no one had ever heard of this person before. But that's the way the business is. And a lot of this is in this fantastic book called Madness, The Rise and Ruin of Sports Media, Mark Hebscher's second book, after The Greatest Athlete You've Never Heard Of, which I see you got a copy of
Brought
right
it
there.
along, as a matter of fact.
Amazing. Okay. So, and hey, Ref, real quick on tennis, and then I got to talk about Fast Time Milan here before you get to be dismissed here. But Hey Ref wants to know what you think of the future of Felix Auger-Aliassime, given his slow start in 2025 and the fact that he made it to the semifinals of the ATO finals this past weekend, but lost to Alcaraz. What's the future of Felix?
Felix reminds me of the guy who's a really good ball player, pick your sport, or hockey player, but not quite good enough for the Hall of Fame, but gets nominated, right? Oh, look at this. He's eligible for the Hall of Fame. Felix is kind of like that guy. He's just outside that, and Sinner and Alcaraz. I mean, come on, this is Nadal, Federer.
Right.
This is like, you're not going to beat these guys for years. You're just not going to. You might have a chance. And so Felix is sort of in that, group. Okay, it's great that you get to the final or the semi or whatever, but can you really take these guys on? And he's just not good enough to beat these two guys. But is he good enough to be a top 10 player? He is. He's got to show more consistency. He's won some of these lower level events and all that. I like watching him play. I do. But yeah, he doesn't, I don't know, he's a killer. Sinner is a killer. Alcaraz is a killer out there. Really, these guys are just balls to the wall.
There was one Grand Slam final, I can't remember which one, of those two gentlemen that just kept going and going. It was so thrilling.
It was. And you know what? Look, the greatest rivalries to me, mano y mano, are boxing and tennis. Right? Two people,
one-on-one.
Two people, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? No one else to blame. Hats off to your opponent if they beat you. I'll get you next time. The difference is that in boxing, usually you fight the same guy. If a rematch, maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times. Tennis, it's like every week. You again.
Right.
You're the one, I'm the two. I'm the two, you're the one again in the fight. Again.
You again?
Right.
And shout out to Keith Stein. I was in his living room when I watched that Alcaraz versus Sinner, and I just couldn't believe it. It was amazing. By the way, will Greg Brady have you on the 640 morning show to talk about your great new book?
I don't think so.
Why not, though? You're buds, and that's not a Rogers or a Bell property.
I don't know. It's really hard to say. I'll be honest with you. I'm not holding out hope. I understand. Why would anyone in mainstream media want to interview me when I'm basically saying mainstream media is going down the tubes? Like, why would they? Mike, imagine interviewing someone who's saying podcasting will be dead.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
Thanks for having me on the show, sir. By the way, your show there will not be a show in the next year. It's going down the tubes.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
I mean, think of it. Here's the title. Imagine the editors going, we got a book here called The Rise and Madness, The Rise and Ruin of Sports Media. Let's get him on the air to talk about the ruin of sports media, because essentially it could be madness, the rise and ruin of media. It doesn't have to be sports media, because sports media falls under the umbrella. Just because it's the toy store, it's still media.
Right.
And people are going to say, oh, come on, sports writing is not the same as news writing. Sports reporting isn't like news reporting. And they're right. They're right.
Right.
It's not life and death. It's sports. So, yeah, it's not as serious We try to make it to be as serious. In our minds, it's very serious. This is sports. These are the people, the athletes, the people that cover them. But, in real life, it's not. It's not as important, okay? We have to kind of understand that and take a step back. But basically, all reporting, like you say with Trump, like it is with Carney, I'm not answering questions. What do you mean you're not answering questions? Can you imagine? 20 years ago, a politician said, I'm not here. The media would be all over him. They'd attack the guy saying, you have to answer these questions. And if he didn't, they would rip him a new one.
Since we entered the realm of politics, your book opens with that great Wayne Swetsky story, which I had heard before, but it was great to get it, in print, and it was well told. And I'm just curious what you, Hebsy, think about Wayne Gretzky's relationship with Donald J. Trump and his silence while his buddy Trump was threatening our sovereignty.
Yeah. I think that similar to many other athletes and entertainers who would probably like to say something, but their area of expertise is not politics, and they were told many times probably, don't talk politics, don't talk religion. You're an athlete, basically stay in your lane. And unfortunately, what's happened is that the word has gotten out more recently as to who supports who politically. Now, I have to tell you, never once did I care or know who Guy Lafleur supported when he was scoring all those goals for the Montreal Canadiens. I don't recall ever a politician or a reporter saying, Guy, are you a Parti Québécois supporter? Is liberal? Blah, blah, blah. No, because
the good old days.
They didn't care. It didn't matter to them who this hockey player supported politically. The same way, nobody ever asked Brian Mulroney, who's your favorite football player? It didn't matter. It's got nothing to do. Who cares? Right. It's got nothing to do with it. And so, but now, Jack Nicklaus supports Donald Trump. Bobby Orr supports Donald. Wayne Gretzky supports Donald. Oh my God. They're not my heroes anymore. Dude, take it easy. It's a golfer and a couple of hockey players.
Gretzky opened this door, though, when he publicly endorsed Stephen Harper for Prime Minister of Canada. Like, I absolutely remember.
He did. And the other thing is, I don't know how that came about. Like, was he, not coerced, because I don't think Wayne Gretzky could be coerced, but did he get some bad advice? Like, did someone say, maybe you should, and was there that Canadian-American thing? Because it's always someone's going to go and say, well, Wayne, your kids are born in America. Are you Canadian? Do you consider yourself Canadian? And that's another thing, too. Do you consider yourself? Like, when you wake up in the morning, Mike, do you consider yourself a father, a podcaster, a liberal?
A cyclist?
A cyclist, yeah. Like, is that your identity?
My brand?
Right,
yeah.
right. So let's.
Everyone's got a brand now, Hebsy. You know that. Okay. So I'm actually closing this show. Of course, I'm not rushing you out. I love talking to you, Hebsy, and I'm going to see you at TMLX 21, and we got to get you back in 2026, of course. Maybe multiple times. But I want to read, this is Fast Time Milan. For a period of time, you and I and Fast Time Milan Telsania, we were kind of collecting in my backyard during COVID, and we would talk about sports media. I'm glad you wrote this book, but I haven't even read these, by the way. They came in very late. And
you're reading these unedited?
Unedited, yeah. Well, everything's unedited, but this time I'm not even vetting it. They could be asking about your shoe size here. No, it's okay.
12 and a half.
So we'll burn through this like rapid fire here. I see you've got 4 things here. So Milan Telsania, and he's a good guy. Shout out to Fast Time Watch and Jewelry Repair.
I got to go visit him now that I'm living up in that part of the world, too.
I got to get him to TMX 21. I don't know if he's committed yet. Future of TSN 1050 radio with Rogers dominating the sports ownership landscape.
Oh, you got to have it. You got to have TSN radio. It can't go away. You've got to have some competition there. You got to. Well, they've got a great afternoon show, first of all, Overdrive.
They can move that to 1010.
Could they do that?
Yeah. Well, they can. They want to. Like, they could take the one successful show that we all know, Overdrive, and that could become the new afternoon drive on 1010, and they could shutter 1050.
I guess they could, Mike. I don't know what to say. I never listen to 1050 on the radio. I do watch Overdrive on TV. It's on one of the TSN channels if I'm around. And I see the clips later.
Right.
Because they'll take the clips and they'll run it during their sportscast. Here's what the fellows in Overdrive had to say about this issue. right? And I get to see the guys on usually on the panel too. I mean,
Right.
Noodles does the Ottawa games. He's on the panel occasionally, but O-Dog's on the panel all the time.
Sure. So
And Hayes does Jay Onrait's show.
You know, Jay Onright and Dan O'Toole. Have you had any contact with Dan lately?
I did speak to Dan a while ago. Was it speaking or was it texting? See, that's another thing.
Yeah, what's the
right? You
yeah.
can't remember. Like you and I haven't spoken,
Right.
but we've texted and whatever back and forth a ton.
Right, and there's another thing too. I asked this of Thalia Shuris, so I'm on a Zoom with her because she's in the States, and I asked her, like, are we meeting each other right now? Like, I actually don't have an answer. Some people say, did you meet this person? I'm like, well, I had a 90-minute Zoom with them, but I didn't meet them. Like, and some people say, yeah, that's meeting them. I personally think it's got to be in person to meet somebody. What do you think?
This is 2000. We're almost in 2026. I would say no. I would say today's.
I met Thalia Shuris.
I'd say today's definition of meeting someone is if that Zoom qualifies for it.
Okay.
That would be yeah.
Then I also just met Rance Mullenix, but
nice.
We'll hear that on
one of my
Friday.
favorites.
What a nice man.
Terrific guy, underrated baseball player. Only thought of as a platoon third baseman with Garth Orge. Like you couldn't think of Rance Mullenix without thinking of Garth Orge.
Right.
And that's unfair. Rance was a good ball player, man.
And I think he might hold a record still for most pinch hits or something. He's got like a Toronto Blue Jays pinch.
He was a good
record.
clutch hitter. He was a good clutch hitter.
Fan 590. Does Hebsy still listen to the station? And what does he think of the current lineup?
Here's who I listen to on Fan 590. J.D. Bunkus.
He just made his Toronto Mike debut this past summer.
That's who I listen to. The guys on the morning show occasionally, although I can't differentiate between Ben Ennis's voice and Gunning's voice. And see, that's the other thing. I was like, who is that talking? But J.D. Bunkus comes on at like 9 o'clock when I'm heading to the gym or whatever, and he just talks he just goes on by himself. He'll just random thoughts and just go. Before I know it, he's the only guy talk for 10 minutes, and he's a fan. He goes to the games. He lives and dies with the teams. He's not a journalist, right? He's not going into the locker room after the game and as a reporter. He's an observer. And at first I was like, who is this guy? But now I like it because he's a fan.
He was feisty. You got to listen to the J.D. Bunkus episode of Toronto Mike. He was a little feisty, but it was entertaining.
What number was it?
I can't remember, but it was this past summer. I met him at the book launch of Keegan Matheson's Jays book. That's where I met J.D. But I also met Caleb Joseph at that event, and he was excited to come on Toronto Mike, but he does not reply to my text messages, so I don't know how to make that one happen. But okay, I'll do my best here. Well, that's all I can do here. Oh yeah, Milan, again, the Milan show here. A couple more real quick ones. With Rogers in control, do you, Hebsy, continue to see less biased reporting from the local media landscape?
Well, no, I mean, first of all, it's in the book.
It's in the book.
It's all in the book. The Rogers is probably the great example. And the book went to the publisher just as that deal was, that they were going to own 75% of MLSE, and that they had just paid Vladdy $500 million. Right. And so, all these, and they re-upped with the National Hockey League. So Rogers went on a spending it there for a while. It went crazy. And so all that does is it just solidifies their position as the owner, operator of teams and media.
Can I give you a fun fact here? So I don't know why I mentioned her 3 times, but maybe because I just had the Zoom with her, but Thalia Shuris, your former colleague at Global, her godfather is Nick Kyprios' father.
That's right. That's exactly right, yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, when you just said right now, you said it's in the book. So I'm going to play a little bit of Nick Kyprios, just a little bit, okay?
Mike, you can get all of those stories and more in a book that I wrote that will come out in October. Simon & Schuster were kind enough to offer me a book deal. Yeah. And that's in the book too. And, it's well documented in my book coming up. Yeah. And that's in the book too.
It's a different one. That's a different one.
So it's a good read in my book coming up on how I was able to turn it around. It's a pretty good ride in my book. I think readers will enjoy it.
That's good.
The last one.
Well, that's another one in my book, buddy. That's another one in my book.
So now every time I hear a guest tell me it's in the book, I think of Nick Kiprios. Okay. Last question from Milan. Other than Rosie DiManno, Steve Simmons, and Cathal Kelly, and
Cathal Kelly.
Am I saying it wrong?
Cathal Kelly.
I've been saying it wrong. Okay.
The silent T.
I should know that.
Cathal
I met him at Steve Buffery's retirement party.
Steve Buffery. I'm kidding. You get around a lot. You're at Buffery's retirement party.
Yeah, I got invited.
Right, and you live in the neighborhood too, which is easy for you. Right? Hey, Mike lives nearby. Let's invite him.
They don't like bike lanes at the Crooked Cube. That's what I've been told here, by the way. And Bob Elliott and Dave Perkins were here the day
that
of
was
Game 6.
such a good listen. That was such a good listen.
Thank you.
Such a good listen. Those guys were they were at every Jays game. They followed the team. They wrote about them every day.
Yep. It was good to reunite them. I was kind of assuming we might clinch that night. Never happened. The rest is history. Okay. And maybe Gregor Chisholm, he points out from the start. But who do you think, Hebsy, is still out there covering sports in the GTA that still speaks their mind?
Yeah. The columnists are allowed to, right? So Simmons writes a column. He speaks his mind. Cathal Kelly, for sure, speaks his mind. There is no affiliation. The Globe has always been as distant as possible from the sports teams. That's good journalism. You want that. Other than that, I don't know. I'm trying to think. You're mentioning guys that are no longer in the business. They were the ones. They set the standard. They told it like it was. And their listeners and readers and viewers expected that. You see, that's the other thing is I developed a reputation over the years. Excuse me. It was hard for me to toe the company line when I was doing Maple Leafs games or Argos games, when I knew deep down that the listener is going, come on, Hebscher, say something. We know how you feel about this. Don't sugarcoat it.
Right.
And so I have to maintain that reputation. And so I'm not saying that if I was working today and they said, look, you can't say those things or whatever, that's like being, like being castrated. That's like, you're being neutered, you're being censored. And so once you reach a certain stage where people care about your opinion and they know you're going to speak the truth, and you become a company man, for lack of a better term, and not saying what people expect you to say, then you're in trouble. Then you got to write a book.
Well, you wrote a book. It's a great book. Madness, The Rise and Ruin of Sports Media by Mark Hebscher. And I'm glad you'll be at TMLX 21, and I'm glad you're going to bring some books. If somebody wants one, that can happen at TMLX 21 at Palma's Kitchen. When you wrote in the book that you had a boss at Sportsnet that you hated so much, you said, either he goes or I go.
Yep.
You didn't name that boss.
Nope.
You going to name this boss now?
Nope.
I had to take a shot. I thought I could weaken you in the 90th minute or whatever.
No, Mike, listen, people who were there, they know.
Those who know. Oh, you also wrote another quote. It's a great book. You're a good writer. You wrote this, right? This isn't AI writing this book.
Oh, boy, no. Gosh, no.
I know. It's well written.
And the audiobook comes out November 25th. Oh, yeah.
You recorded an audiobook.
Yeah.
How long did that take?
Way too long. Because that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I'll never do it again.
You could have just come over here and read the book on the mic, but no.
I know, and I still can, Mike, you see. We can turn it into a podcast, okay?
Hebsy on Sports, we could call it.
Yeah.
But one quote I liked, you said, there has never been a better time to be a sports fan, but there's never been a worse time to be a sports journalist.
Yeah, sad but true, because I'm not sure how much sports journalism there is left.
And a lot of these cats we talk about are at the end of their careers almost. These people are...
Let's hope not.
Well, let's hope not. But I mean, how long is a Steve Simmons and Rosie DiManno going to be writing for us, and et cetera, right? These are not... I mean, Chisholm's young, but... all this and more. It's in the book. It's in the book. Hebsy, thanks for dropping by, man. I love this very much. Say hi to Mike Richards and tell Mike Richards how we messed up the Raptors parade, okay?
I'll tell him that. And Mike, I'm looking forward to the 29th with you and everyone at Palma Pass. I haven't seen Anthony in a long time, too, yeah. And really looking forward to it. And thank you for the
Well, it's in the freezer.
Pasta.
It's in the
Thank you
freezer.
for
Don't
the
leave without
lasagna.
your Palma pasta.
Remember when I used to ride my bike and I couldn't fit the whole thing in the box in? Remember you'd stick it in my backpack?
I do. Well, now that they sell them in retail stores like Longo's, they come in like a retail package. So it's in my freezer waiting for you. Hebsy, we're going to take another photo by Toronto Tree, as named by Dave Thomas, and we'll get you back on the show. Hebsy, man, if you want more Hebsy, there's a bunch of great Mark Hebscher episodes of Toronto Mike in the feed. Check it out. By the way, speaking of great sports journalists who are on Toronto Mike, coming up very soon is the top 100 songs of 2025 as per
Dave Hodge, who's in the book.
He's in the book.
Boy,
absolutely.
is he in the book, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that brings us to the end of our 1,801st show, 1801. Your favorite Tequila Sheila. Okay, go to that was Sheila Copps. They named the arena after
I know.
Go to TorontoMike.com. Subdivisions. Is that Mark Daly from City TV saying Subdivisions? Oh, that's me.
No,
that's not him. That's me.
You know, he lived across the street from my buddies, eh? Geddy Lee.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
he lived right across the street from two good friends of mine.
I heard he plays at the
Avenue.
York Racket Club. He's a member.
He's actually at the Inn at Manitou up near Perry Sound. He's got a place right next door to that tennis club.
Let's get him on the program.
We could try.
Fast Cars, Gino Vanelli. Okay. Much love to Retro Festive, Great Lakes Brewery, Palma Pasta, Nick Ieni's, Kindling, RecycleMyElectronics.ca, Blue Sky Agency, and Ridley Funeral Home. See you all tomorrow. Guess who my guest is tomorrow? Andy Petrillo.
No kidding. She's got a book.
That's how you get these guests. And she's in the basement tomorrow. Andy Petrillo.
She was awesome on the hockey game last night.